Hello everybody and Happy New Year! Welcome to 2020. We made it. As is tradition, I am doing another top 10 acquisitions video, this time for 2019. And as a reminder, this is acquisitions from 2019, not necessarily stuff that only came out in 2019, because I am way behind the curve when it comes to collecting, so some of the stuff on this list has been out longer than just 1 or 2 years. In some cases, a lot longer. In some cases, a lot longer. So before I launch into the 5 honorable mentions that I've got set aside out of frame down here, I do want to say that there were so many really good figures that I got my hands on this year that narrowing it down to ultimately 15 is kind of silly. Virtually everything that I got this year, I would love to put in some kind of numerical list, but then that thing would be huge and take forever to organize, and I feel like doing a smaller, more concise list is better. For example, Mastermind Creations, Commodus, and Titanica, I wanted to have both of them on here, but it's too much stuff, too much really good stuff. The Mechazone X4 little transforming jet spaceship shmup thing, I really wanted that on here too, but again, just so many great things. It's just, yeah, it was just difficult. And I didn't want to force myself to represent certain things, have, make sure it's only one from this series, one representing this character, one representing this series, and so on, one representing this company. I just wanted to pick the 15, ultimately 15 figures that I'm most excited about getting this year. But again, that does not mean I'm not super pumped about the other figures that I have not mentioned. I also tried really hard to make sure that I had videos of every single figure on this list ready to go by the time the list went up. There were some things that came in within the last couple of months that I just didn't get around to filming. So there are going to be a few things on this list that I have not covered previously. I plan to eventually, it's just I haven't been able to. And I will, of course, put links in the corner up there to any of the other videos that I have for these figures as they come up, the ones that I have videos for. So without further preamble, let's launch into this. My first honorable mention is Cyberverse Spark Armor Cheetor, without the Spark Armor. I know it's a Cyberverse figure. What's a Cyberverse figure doing in a top 10, top 15 list, but I really like this guy. He's fun. Plus, I think he looks a lot better with some added paint. I don't know. I really like this as a standalone, kind of simple but fun Cheetor. Next honorable mention goes to Henkei Megatron. This is actually not the oldest figure on the list, but I was late picking this guy up, but he is a ton of fun. And yeah, he's got some limitations and some strange design choices. But for me, as I said in the video on this guy, I really like this design. I think it's fun. It's enjoyable. It hits a lot of notes that denote more standard G1 style Megatron, but this is just a fun figure. Next honorable mention is, I guess, kind of a cheat. Kind of like how Cyberverse Cheetor was a cheat. No pun kind of intended, because I painted Cheetor, so there's a little bit customizing there, but technically speaking, there is a little bit of fudging with this one too, because I ended up getting a second figure that I used to, let's say, enhance this one, and that is the Figma Metroid Prime 3 Samus. This figure is great. It's one of my favorite video game characters of all time, and the added bonus of having the unhelmeted head to put on here is just so great. I really love this figure. Okay, last honorable mention, but not technically last, because as I said, this is not in any specific order. I'm just grabbing them off the shelf in whatever order I want to. But yeah, this one, a little bit older than Henkei Megatron, I think, and I have no idea how to pronounce this properly, so my apologies if I screw it up, but you know what? Them's the breaks. That is Brave of the Sun Firebird Dryas? I don't know, I saw videos on this guy for a while, and I really like his transformation. Yes, there's parts forming, but I don't know, there's just something about the 3 animals that down the middle combine, was it symmetrical docking, I think, is the term that a lot of people use for it, with the extra stuff kind of getting tacked on to flesh everything out. It's cool, and he's got the robot mode, the individual animal modes, and a vehicle mode. It's just cool. It's a really neat figure. There's some clever engineering going on here. Yeah, I had to do some tweaking to get him right, with like filing things down and whatnot, but I love this thing. This thing is a lot of fun. So for those of you keeping track, that was actually 4 honorable mentions, and it's supposed to be 5. That is because I completely forgot that the reason I didn't take down the 5th one is because it's behind me, and I didn't want to make it super obvious what might be on the list by removing things that you might notice were missing. So, the last honorable mention, which again, not actually last, but the 5th honorable mention to bring up is Tobot Terrical. I said in the video for this guy, and I will reiterate, I love this toy. This is one of possibly my favorite standalone Tobot. It's just, there are so many great ones. I kind of don't want to pick a favorite, but I think he is really. Don't tell any of them. I'll probably just end up repeating everything I said in the video for this guy, so I'm gonna cut it off here, but yeah, Terrical. Fantastic Tobot toy. Fantastic toy in general. Alright, now we're into the top 10 proper, and just as a quick reminder, not that you really need it because frickin' a Brave figure was in this video already, but yeah, this is stuff that I got this year, not all stuff that came out this year. So with that said, number 10 is Reveal the Shield Jazz. This guy is great. He ended up replacing my Make Toys Downbeat. I had basically a Masterpiece Jazz, and I objectively like this guy better. Which isn't to say that Downbeat is a bad figure. I like Downbeat quite a bit. It's just, this guy kind of encapsulates it a little bit more for me. He's not slavish G1 accuracy. He's got little hints here and there, like it's clearly, obviously based on G1 Jazz, but like there are little elements to him that are different, and I appreciate different. I'm so sick of G1 carbon copying. Anyway, he's fun. Transformation is simple but fun, and you've got options for the displaying with like the weapons and whatnot. I've got repro labels in the mail for this guy that I ordered a month ago, Toy Hacks. And when those come in, I'm also going to be doing some painting and stuff on this guy. But yeah, Reveal the Shield Jazz, number 10. Excellent figure. Don't know why I waited as long as I did, but I'm glad I finally got him. Number 9, shockingly, is something that actually did come out this year. And that is Mastermind Creations Ultio, their version of IDW Ratbat. I said in this guy's video that I really liked, Acer Beta, their rendition of Deadlock that they did. But I sold him off and was regretting it and wanted to get him again, and then along comes this gorgeous thing, which is more or less based on the mold. It's weird and complicated, and third parties do the same thing with remolds and repaints as Hasbro, but this is gorgeous. I love the presence and regality that this figure just kind of gives off, like some kind of weird radiation. This guy is great. Number 8. This definitely did not come out this year. This is the oldest figure on the list, and that is G1 Doubledealer. This thing is great. I love the way it transforms. I love the gimmick. I love the look of it, the colors. Everything about this is fantastic. And if it weren't for the fact that my G1 Bumblebee is the original toy that I got 30 plus years ago, that I still have, this would probably be my favorite G1 figure that I currently own. I guess we'll call it the second favorite, just because Bumblebee wins by default, because he's been in the family the longest. But yes, G1 Doubledealer, oh, so good. On the topic of G1, but a little bit of a tangent, I finally completed my G1 Darkwing and Dreadwind. You have no idea how many times it took me to get that right. I finally completed them. They've got their Power Masters, you can see there. They got their guns, they got repro labels. Darkwing's head actually kind of technically works. Kind of. I have to kind of pull it out part way, but still. I completed these guys, and I am very happy. I need to do a video on them at some point. Okay, number 7. I am overtly cheating for number 7, but I really couldn't just narrow it down to one. So rather than pick one favorite out of an entire line, I'm just going to say the whole line. I've got one particular set that I've picked to represent the whole line because it's easy to hold in one hand, and that is Mugenbine. I've finally gotten into Mugenbine, as I've mentioned, and I absolutely adore this series. And I'm using Needle Stego here as the representation. Yes, I got Needle Stego. I love the modularity of it. The tactile sensation of popping everything apart, snapping it together is great. The Mugenroid does transform a little bit to make the different core modes, and it does that thing that I love that I talked about for things like Jiaolong, where you've got pieces that have all of the details of the different modes on them already, but like just where they're placed and how they're angled can completely change the context of what you see. If you're looking at this right now, like obviously it's a Stegosaurus, but like you move these parts around and even if you're still seeing the parts like the same sides of the parts, but like from different angles and in different placements, it looks like something completely different. And I love that, and I love Mugenbine for that. It's basically robot Legos. Yes, number 7 is Mugenbine, just all of it. It's so much fun. I have a lot of different sets at this point because I'm a sucker for them, and they are also relatively cheap, especially considering the fact that you don't really find them new anywhere anymore. And now we come to number 6, and number 6 is probably the newest figure on this list, by which I mean the one that came out the most recently. It came out this year, and it actually came out towards the tail end of this year, and that is Transformers Siege Spinister. I haven't really talked about this, but the fact that he's on this list at all, let alone in the number 6 spot, is kind of a testament to how great this figure is, because I didn't care about Siege Spinister. It was a figure that I thought, like, okay, it looks decent. I might grab it if I see it in a store out of curiosity or whatever. I was seeing a couple of videos and was like, yeah, that looks kind of neat. Diana got him for me for Christmas. Thank you. I took him out of the box, transformed him a couple of times, and he pretty much immediately became my favorite Siege figure that I own. Granted, I don't own all of them, but I like all of the Siege figures that I have a lot. And so he has basically shoved them all to the back, like Apeface, Jetfire, Skywarp, Ultra Magnus, Optimus Prime, Runt, running out of fingers on this hand, Ratchet, like all of the Siege figures that I have, he is my favorite. He's fun to transform, he's fun to pose, he's fun to mess with. The color scheme's ridiculous, but like in that great way. Also, his name is a pun. I'm gonna stop gushing, but yes, number 6, Siege Spinister. Check him out if you haven't already. Okay, we are getting close to the end here. We have reached the halfway point, or technically 2/3 point. So, I wasn't expecting this as a number 5. I guess it was kind of inevitable once I actually started messing with the figure and was like, this is amazing. This figure has kind of opened my eyes to a company that I'd never messed with before. Granted, I'm not super into most of the other figures that this company has put out, but I am super into this one, and super into the other one that BBTS is supposedly delivering maybe tomorrow. I don't know. By the time this video goes up, there will probably be Instagram photos, so you'll know. But number 5, Storm Collectibles Street Fighter V Cammy in her battle costume. Again, as I said in the video for the figure, which is a thing I say a lot in this video, this is an amazing figure. Posability is fantastic, the detailing is great, things just go where you put them and stay there. I wish more action figures posed as effortlessly as Cammy does. There's a couple little nitpicks, but really, no, super happy with my purchase, and I love this figure. Just be nice if she didn't come with all those effects parts that take up so much room in the box and drive up the cost of the figure, and you can't use them without a stand. Okay, we're getting into the nitty-gritty here, because everything else, well, everything up to this point, but also everything else, I probably professed my love for this figure at one point or another in the video. Anyway, number 4, the Jiaolong submersible from Mechanic Toys, but probably actually MechFans Toys. This thing, as I said, is adorable and cool at the same time. It really feels like one of those things that you see that like someone took a model kit and did a huge time-consuming and very talented custom job on to like kit bash it into something completely different and turn it into a mech, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I wish that actually existed, but this one artist made it and it probably costs thousands of dollars, which is deserved. but I can't afford that. And so yes, this is just fun, it's weird, and I love it. This was a total surprise. I pre-ordered it as soon as I saw the listing. Didn't look up any videos or anything like that. It was just like, okay, it's a submersible that turns into a mech suit. I need that in my life. And I have it in my life now, and it makes me very happy. Okay, top three. These three, it's not really a surprise to me, personally, when I was making the list that they ended up in the top 3 spots. The order isn't even necessarily a big surprise to me, but yes, top 3. I'm rambling. Let's get on with it. Number 3 is Tobot v Big Troll. Am I pointing properly? I am not pointing properly. There it is. This guy has been on the list for most of the year. I forget exactly when I got this guy, well, these guys, but they went on the list as soon as I formulated the list and have stayed there the entire time because this set, these 2 bots are amazing. And while Terrical is my favorite, probably standalone Tobot, this is my favorite set. He's got really cool vehicle modes, really cool individual robot modes, a really cool combined mode. For a Tobot, this guy is super posable. He looks great. He's fun to mess with. He's, it's all the standard Tobot stuff. He's super chunky, super fun. The tactile sensation of transforming this guy and combining the 2 smaller, because the small robots are still huge. Combining them, it feels great. It looks great. It's fun to mess with. Big Troll is easily my favorite, I guess we'll say, Korean transforming robot toy, because they're not all Tobots, but he is easily my favorite of these that I got all year. Looking back there, I think I got most of these, if not all of these, this past year. I may have a problem. Alright, down to the final 2. And number 2 is a bit of a surprise to me because it's a very recent acquisition. Like, as of this recording, I've had this figure for all of, I think, 2 days. Maybe 3 days if you want to stretch it. I understand that people may think this is because it's, the new shiny thing that I just got, but like, I just got Chrono and he's not on the list. Not that I don't like Chrono, but it's not the new shininess. I was actually surprised by how taken I am with this figure. Okay, I'm gonna stop making you all wait to see what this is. Because I can talk about it when I show you. Number 2 is Fans Hobby Double Evil. Their version of Overlord. I got Double Evil. Oof. But this guy is so great. He's big and chunky and sturdy. He's actually fun to transform. That was the one thing that's I was kind of torn between him and Carnifex in terms of an Overlord representation. And I really liked Carnifex, particularly for his face sculpts. In particularly the one where his eyes busted and he's got that extremely sadistic grin on his face. I saw a couple photos of these guys side by side, and it made Carnifex look a little too skinny, or a lot too skinny. And I really came around on just how big and chunky this guy is, because yes, he is very chunky, very boxy, but he can move, he can pose, and he looks great when he's doing it. And he's huge. He's very sturdy, very well made. I love the colors on this guy. I love the overall design. I love the look. The only real gripe that I have are the tank bits on the sides of his legs. It bothered me at first, but then when it was oh, I can actually move him and pose him, it's kind of they don't get in the way. They're just there. It's fine. And really, there are only 2 other issues I have with this guy. One being it's just scary to take the jet nose cone section on and off during transformation. It's just a very disconcerting snap. The other thing is his gun. It's a little too small for my taste. I wish it was a little bit bigger. I'll eventually do a video on this guy and I can get into all the nitty-gritty, but yeah, I love this figure. As I said, it's fun to mess with. It's got an enormous amount of presence, and really, the thing that helped me decide that I wanted this to be my number 2 is the fact that I've been at work all day today, the day that I'm recording this. I left the Instagram tab open to the photo that I took of him the day before today, and I just would go back to that page to just look at it and remind myself, this is a figure that I own. If I've got a figure that simply looking at pictures of it as it sits on my shelf makes me that happy, I think it deserves to be on this list. And I do not mind one little bit putting him at the number 2 spot. I'm probably lucky he hasn't killed me for not putting him at number 1. Okay. My hand's a little cramped from holding him up with one hand for so long. I think that might actually be my favorite third-party purchase of the year. Granted, it's the new hotness in my brain, so that may change over time, but I'm so happy that I have this figure, so hence the number 2 spot. Which probably makes you wonder, why is something that makes me that happy and that excited at number 2 and not number 1? That's because of what my number 1 figure is and what that number 1 figure has led to. And that is the Astrobots Apollo Day 13, I think, edition, weathered version. This thing is amazing. This figure looks fantastic, poses beautifully, and that alone, I feel like, would be reason enough for it to be on this list. But the reason it's on this list and the reason it's at number 1 isn't just because I adore it to no end. It's because this figure right here that I hold in my hand is solely responsible for me starting to collect non-transforming figures. I have Storm Collectibles Cammy and Figma Samus and lots of other non-transforming figures like Star Wars Black Series, a couple of Mythic Legions, and a couple on pre-order. I have them because of this. This figure turned me around completely on the idea of not getting figures that don't transform, because I was kind of like, oh, what's the fun in just posing them? This made me realize how much fun it is to just pose your figures and take pictures of them usually. So this guy opened up a big old can of worms and I thank him immensely for it. It's an amazing figure. It poses effortlessly, possibly even more effortlessly than Storm Collectibles Cammy. Everything is posable on this guy. Like, you don't need alternate hands because his hands can go into whatever pose you really want them to. He's got multiple joints. He's got 3 joints in his torso, and he looks amazing. I really like the look of Apollo to begin with, but like, you slap the weathering on it and it is just incredible. He's super photogenic and just fun. He's fun to pose and fun to take pictures of. I feel like that is a worthwhile reason to have him as my number 1. I just hope that Overlord can respect that decision and, let me live. So that is it. We made it through another year, and you all made it through another top 10 video. I'm sorry if this dragged on for you, but these are all figures that I am very, very happy to have gotten my hands on. And as I said, there are so many others that I got this year that I would love to put on the list, but I had to cap it somewhere, and I needed to cap it somewhere that would be reasonable. Otherwise, this video would be like 30 minutes long, if it isn't already. Hopefully, in the near future, I'll be able to do videos on at least some of the figures that I've had in this video that I don't already have videos on. So what are your favorite toy acquisitions of 2019? Be they Transformers, or third-party figures, or non-transforming figures like Star Wars Black Series, or Mythic Legions, or Marvel Legends. I don't have any Marvel Legends myself, but what are your top figures that you got this year? Old or new? I'm curious to know what all your favorites are. With that said, I'm going to end it here. So thank you everybody for watching. Feel free to comment down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thanks again, and welcome to 2020. I guess we'll see all this happen again at the end of this year, next year, whatever.